through the first ring, and then the second, and then the third. Expertly turning and drifting, she curved in towards the second last ring near the bottom of the field. As she descended, she caught sight of Orion and Aurora, right?
Yeah.
Good. Almost at the west gate now. Orion turned his head and smiled weakly. Scootaloo's face shattered. Orion knew what he did. He cared about her. He'd miss her, and he'd never get to say goodbye. Scootaloo cranked into the bottom part of the ring, falling backwards several feet and hitting the ground. With a sudden intense flash of fear, she flipped herself onto her feet and began flapping her wings, levitating off the ground. Maybe that didn't count as a failure, she thought. I can still fly. There was a distraction on the field. She spun around to the judges. 3 hoofs pointed down. Scootaloo started crying there, tears welling up and blurred her vision. This wasn't right. This shouldn't have happened. None of it. Orion should have passed his test and cheered her on from the east gate. She shouldn't have looked at him. She should have focused on flying. But there was no room for excuses. Defeated, she slowly hovered towards Orion and settled down next to him. She looked at him through her purple eyes. He looked back, offering a smile. You did a good job. Scootaloo dropped her head and sobbed. She then walked Orion, lifted a wing of her own, and helped Aurora walk to the west gate. Before them stood a long, until halt with unlit hall with only a cheap sign stuck on the wall notifying test failures to proceed down the hall. They waited only briefly to gather themselves and prepare for where they would be taken, and then all stepped forward again, or step forward together. Alright, who wants to read next?
I guess that's me again. Against an empty carriage at the end of a lonely hall were 3 imposing ponies, being in a disinterested and bored pose. One of them happened to look up as the sorry-looking trio stumbled out into the open. They were
Hold on a second. I gotta go. And Chris says, McDonald's.
Yeah, alright.
Okay, alright, see you, Aaron.
Dude, I'm like a page below you guys, and like, though the 3 dudes holding the carriage are fucking assholes. Alright? I just want to let you guys know.
Spoiler alert!
Yeah, spoiler alert! Everybody's in jerk in this story. Spoiler! I don't know if you guys want to know that or not, but you do now.
Tell it there, jerks.
They were at the bottom edge of the Coliseum with the vast rolling hills and plains of Equestria visible far below. Hey, boss, we got some of them worthless Pegasus. First one called them an even bigger pony on the saddle cat. I suppose to get it to work this time, is it? Cool, it's not hot. Cool it, hot shot. There may be more, too. No, I was the last student to go. Scootaloo spoke in sobs. Orion could only hang his head. She paused, then breathed deeply, determined to remain as strong as she could. It's just us 3. Aurora's rings, they're broken. She needs help. Ain't that just a crying shame? It is. What's it to us? All the better she don't come flying back to us no more. We have failed our damn test, but that doesn't mean we're not worth keeping alive, Scootaloo shouted in a flash of rage. She was determined to hold on to much dignity as she could. All right, jeez. Hey, Patches, doctor her up before we head out. I don't want any blood up in the seats. I just watched that thing. The other 2 in the car. Orion and Scootaloo hopped into the carriage and got as comfortable as they could on the hard seats, but made sure to leave room for Aurora. As soon as the third of the large ponies finished bandaging her wings, Aurora carefully stepped onto the vehicle and lay down on the bench on the back. Scootaloo inched closer to her and leaned down to talk to her as the carriage slammed shut. The boss pony was inside the truck, standing by the door, watching each of them. So, Scootaloo began quietly, trying not to speak too loud. Yo, Aurora, I'm Scootaloo. I'm sorry we have to meet like this. Any meeting of a friend is a welcome meeting. Aurora spoke gently with sincerity in her eyes. We did our best. That's all we can say. That's any of us. That's all any of us could say. Who's to say that the city of the deported isn't a good one, anyways? This thought struck Scootaloo as she considered it. No one was ever told about where the Pegasi were born. Most probably considered it to be some odds ends, like where zebras hail from. They made Scootaloo realize something even more profound. Maybe if we were taking, hey, if we were taking, if we were taken in, is where's the court? If we
If we were taken, is where's the court
hey,
from?
if where we're taken is where Zakura's from, then there's got to be a way to get back. I suck at reading. It's not as if we're banned from Equestria. Fluttershy, an old friend of mine, she's a Pegasus who lives in Ponyville. She never passed flight school. She never took a test. They've never come and taken her away. Exactly. Ozora agreed with a nod. Orion overheard and offered his thoughts. I think the reason we're sent far away is because no pony from Ponyville ever wants to admit that someone who failed flight school could ever come from their city. What a fucking horrible place now that I think about it. I never want to go back. Maybe that's why no Pegasus ever comes back. They just don't like Cloudsdale. You goddamn what these ponies call yourself, Pegasus? Boss spoke from the doctor. He was swaying ever so slightly as the carriage was lifted and moved to an unknown location. Useless failures is what you are. No pony comes back from exile, regardless of reason. Can't even pass a goddamn test. You three make me sick. Scootaloo jumped up from her seat, lifted herself into the other wings, and delved legs first at the boss. You shut the heck up about us. You have no right to treat others like this. And this is all philosophical. Anyway, boss raised a hoof and backhanded Scootaloo, bitch please, out of the air, onto the floor. I can treat you however I want. You hardly classified as ponies to clouds there, or any other question for that matter. Now sit the heck down and shut up until you get to your destination. Where are we being taken anyways? Not like all of us can tell anyhow. I'm sure as the delivers, you guys should know. Orion cautiously reasoned. Hell if I know. We hand this carriage off to ponies in suits. We get a bag full of coins and keep quiet about the whole thing. It's how it's been for 1,000 years. The three fillies huddled together again, and scared of the unknown. They kept quietly as they walked through the unbearable trip, all lost in their own thoughts. Family, friends, loved ones, and pets, all will never see them again, and some would never find out why. An hour passed, and then another. Finally, the uncomfortable quiet was broken by a sudden lurch as the carriage stopped in its flight. Ah! Boss smiled. There's my stop. You ponies playing nice now. Have fun and wherever the hell you're sent to. The carriage door shuffled open and Boss hopped out with a gust of cold wind. It was light outside now, with hardly any light to see at all. Scootaloo stared outside and noticed another figure staring in. It was dressed in a black suit. Its tail dyed in an unnatural black that never occurred in nature. Its face was covered by a dark, loose-fitting mask concealing its mane. All that was visible were rose-colored eyes, staring indifferently at the three ponies inside. It stopped on Scootaloo momentarily, unrecognizing, but she stared back. A second passed, the dark pony stopped, the door shut, and the carriage took off once again. At least we can talk now, however, it seemed like they had nothing to talk about. And that was the end of that part. John, you want to read?
I don't think you want me to read, but I guess I'll try to read.
Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, if I start to fail at reading, either Cameron or Blake, one of you two will take over.
Let's see.
Blake, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
Alright. I guess I'll go on from these
No, I'll take a shot. I'll take a shot at it.
Alright.
If I fail, one of you take over.
Alright.
Okay, not gonna read that. Okay. The carriage finally shuddered to a stop. You know what? Fuck it. One of you take over.
You only read a sentence.
I know. I suck.
John.
The three basketballs blinked their eyes awake, having all result to conserve energy for whatever came up next. With a loud scraping noise, the door shook and then swung open wide. Wide open. Several more ponies, obscured by mask and suit, were moving around the area. Scootaloo blinked against the light from what she was seeing. They were in a cloud building. As her eyes adjusted, she noticed more details. Several of the blackened ponies were rushing around, some holding clipboards, some carrying briefcases and other important-looking items on their backs. The complex was full of machineries and signs. Pipes ran along the ceiling and a loud whoop ran in the background, occasionally joined with the other industrial sounds such as crashes and alarms. Scootaloo gasped. This place, the architecture, it's all so familiar. I think we're in the weather factory. Orion frowned. That can't be right. We were traveling for way too long. We've got to be far away from Equestria now. Not to mention the city. Actually, Scootaloo may be right or amused. I noticed it was maybe the same amount of time when we left the car scenes and replaced the carriage driver swap, that it was the swap place to here. But I don't know. I'm confused. Maybe that's just a coincidence. Welcome, you. A large and powerful voice commanded. Several of the suited ponies moved up. This sounds like shit from a JRPG, by the way. Several of the suited ponies moved to make way for a deep, dark red Pegasus dressed in a white lab coat. You degenerates are probably wondering where you exactly are. Stupid Billies, you're in Cloudsdale, the Rainbow Factory, to be exact. Allow me to show you around. What's going on here? Do you expect us to use us as slaves? Because I'd rather be deported, thanks. Scootaloo yelled. Orion and Aurora got off their seats and stood behind Scootaloo, nodding. Like you farriers have a choice, you'll be here for the rest of your lives. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Dr. Atmosphere. My degree is in the medical one. I shall reassure you. In case you're picturing some dreadful surgery going on behind the scenes, strange how many worthless Pegasus get that idea. No, my degree is in engineering. I'm one of those orcults in this facility. I'm sure you've all had the tour of the lower factory. No? The three ponies nodded slowly, unsure of what was going on. Excellent! Who can tell you where the tour begins? Orion spoke up first. Where the spectre comes from upstairs and is mixed? Very good. What a pity. You're only worthless to the flock, and you could have been a smart one. Dr. Atmosphere smiled sadistically and patted Orion on the head. But today, we're on the upper floor. Please, follow me. And don't get too far behind, or one of my helpers may be forced to encourage you. At that, he winked up the suited ponies. With nods, three of them at the rear leaned towards and jabbed each of the Pegasus with tasers, sucking them to the ground. Dr. Atmosphere whined in laughter as they all yelped and fell. Okay, sick bastard. And continued into a subject as they all stood up again.
That's funny.
Fuck you, not. Yes, it is. Scootaloo blinked more tears from her eyes and shook herself again, trying to lose the tingling in her nerves. She turned and quickly looked at each of the suited ponies, catching each of them in the eye when she could. None of them were the rose-eyed ponies from the carriage. Begrudgingly, she started walking behind the red engineer. You simply must be careful in this department, Dr. Atmosphere began in a tone not unlike the many tour guides on lower floors. There's plenty of nooks and crannies and vents and vats one could fall into. One must be careful not to hurt themselves. After all, you're all hopeless as it is. Any more so, and even we couldn't use you. Dick! He glanced behind himself maliciously as the three fools frowned at the insult. They were walking down a series of halls with vibrating machines and assembly lines lining the way, occasionally ducking under low-hanging wires or carefully stepping over steaming pipes. As they walked through, the building became cooler and cooler. All three were watching, sensing, looking for any way out. They couldn't see any. Now, let me tell you a story. Cloudsdale is where the weather is made. Without us, the rest of the pressure of the star, breeze, ground, and Journey being a not very happy place. That's bullshit now, thanks to the fact that we have Heartwarming's Eve. How could the world look up and trust us if Pegasi like you are flying around wearing the Cloudsdale name? No, we need to do something with all of you. And then we got a delicious idea. One day, over 1,000 years ago. Exposition. Anyway.
Just go on with it.
Those were some smart ponies back then, I'll say. You don't find too many of them these days, but I digress. Ha ha ha. Here, now these doors quickly, now, before more encouragement is applied. Dr. Atmosphere opened a heavy-looking door in a cramped corridor and offered after a hoove inside. Scootaloo stared up at him. He glared at a Scootaloo, and the others walked inside as he laughed again. Enjoy the rest of your pitiful life. And with that, he slammed the door closed.